So this presentation is titled Driving Change Across Institutions, Lessons from a Consortium-Wide Faculty Course Transformation Pilot Program. And our presenters, we have a few. So the first one I'm going to be introducing is Brianna Chatmon. Brianna Chatmon is the Instruction and Scholarly Communications Librarian at Marymount University. She specializes in information literacy, open access, and equitable scholarly publishing, leveraging her dual expertise in library science and business administration. With a passion for addressing systemic inequities, Brianna designs impactful instructional programs and leads initiatives supporting academic success and transformative learning. Her extensive experience includes faculty training on copyright, open educational resources, and data visualization. Next, we have Angelique Carson, who is the Shared Collections Librarian at the Washington Research Library Consortium. She holds an MLIS from Louisiana State University. Angelique has held librarian positions at Southern University of New Orleans, the Southern Food and Beverage Culinary Library and Archive, the Catholic University of America, and Howard University. Her greatest professional passion is OER advocacy and how it can meaningfully impact campus community and EDI initiatives in higher education. Melissa Foge is the outreach librarian at the Catholic University of America. She earned her MLIS from the University of Maryland and has worked with OER in research and instruction at Catholic University and the University of Maryland Global Campus. And lastly, Joel Shields is the Digital Services and Systems Librarian at the Washington Research Library Consortium in Washington, D.C. He holds a BA from Maryville College, a master's in music from the University of South Carolina, and an MLIS from the University of Alabama. Joel's professional journey includes positions at the University of South Carolina and Georgetown University. Okay, welcome and take it away.
Great. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here today. As stated, my name is Brianna Chatmon, and I am a member of the Washington Research Library Consortium, also known as the WRLC. I would like to introduce today's presentation, Driving Change Across Institutions, Lessons from a Consortium-Wide OER Course Transformation Pilot Program. Next slide, please. And our team was just introduced, but I'll briefly, reintroduce us. Today we have Angelique Carson, myself, Brianna Chatmon, Melissa Foge, and Joel Shields. Next slide, please. Alrighty, the WRLC is a partnership of 9 academic libraries in the Washington, D.C. area dedicated to enhancing resource sharing, collaboration, and access to information for students and faculty. The WRLC has been a strong academic consortium for the past 38 years for our institutional members. Through initiatives like shared print collections, interlibrary loan services, and digital resources, the WRLC expands the materials available to students beyond their home institutions, recognizing the financial barriers that course materials can create. The WRLC is committed to promoting affordability and equity in higher education and has established the Textbook Affordability Working Group, also known as TOG. So, with that being said, we have a team of dedicated librarians working together to provide the best practices to lower and reduce textbook and classroom related material cost. Next slide, please. So, established in 2019, TOG brings together librarians and faculty from WRLC institutions to advocate for affordable course materials and reduce the financial strain on students. We support OER initiatives and largely help faculty identify alternatives to costly textbooks by sharing best practices, hosting workshops, and collaborating on funding opportunities. TOG ensures that students have greater access to the resources they need for academic success. Through these efforts, we aim to create a more inclusive and financially sustainable learning environment across the WRLC institutions. Next slide, please. The Faculty Course Transformation Program supports faculty in redesigning courses to incorporate high quality, accessible, and affordable course materials. Originally designed to fund a range of course transformation activities, the program was scaled back due to budget cuts and now focuses primarily on the adoption of existing materials. Despite this limitation, the selected faculty teams that we worked with, they went above and beyond, creating original course materials that enhance student learning experiences. Now, in its second year, the program has evolved based on valuable lessons learned from the first pilot year. Adjustments in program structure and support services have helped refine the initiative, making the second year more effective and impactful. Through this experience, the WLC institutions continue to strengthen instructional design, foster collaboration, and advance efforts to improve access to affordable course materials. Next slide, please. Alrighty, so before we fully dig in here are a few fast facts about the first year pilot. Our budget was reduced by 80%, which significantly impacted the way we transformed the program itself and the loss of administrative help to run the program. The program went from an anticipated three-tier award program designed by OER Adopt, Adapt, and Create to a one-tier program of Adopt only. We had 33 applications, but only 13 projects from 7 universities were selected. We had a wide range of courses explored from undergraduate to graduate level. There were topics such as nursing, business, counseling, and so forth we explored. In the pilot's first year, we collectively saved students over $122,000. I'm now going to hand the presentation over to Angelique, and she will discuss some of the challenges we faced and the adjustments we made as we encountered certain challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. As Brianna shared, the experienced OER library programming staff who graciously informed our fact-finding mission strenuously advised and cautioned about the amount of administrative labor that would be required to run our program. With the loss of the budgeted administrative assistants, the labor would then fall to TOG representatives and the WRLC staff. Fortunately, we are professionals in an industry whose ethos is grounded in sharing values. And after they provided us with their invaluable advice and experiences, they went further and shared their programming materials as well. This supporting documentation included everything from examples of call for proposals, MOUs, and slide decks to kickoff presentations, selection rubrics, and timelines. The documentation saved us untold hours of research and labor, and we are forever grateful to those institutions. While the administrative position was removed from the budget, we were able to secure a budget for a consultant. It was a great decision, and we would make it 1,000 times over. Dr. Nancy O'Neill, Executive Director of the University of Maryland's Chatmon Center for Academic Innovation, advised the program on drafting the selection criteria, reviewing applications, provided an informational meeting to onboard the selectors, and she led 2 rounds of final selection discussions. Afterwards, we were able to use the documentation and information to inform the second pilot year selection process, and we were able to build on the previous lessons learned to create a more efficient selection workflow. Slide. You may remember that in 2021, a year after the onset of the pandemic, academia, similar to other industries, experienced a mass departure and staff turnover. The WRLC and its partnering libraries were no different. And the year we launched our pilot program, we found ourselves with an almost entirely completely new team. Therefore, OER education and onboarding was critical and constant. To support the program and their faculty, our members completed OER, digital accessibility, and Creative Commons licensing certificate programs. These programs were very important in helping us educate each other, our faculty, and to help us build instructional programming resources. We also collaborate with partnering fellow university departments for digital accessibility, instructional assistance, and marketing assistance to help draft program standards and inform effective marketing campaigns. Once again, these resources save TOG members hours of time and energy, and the material and guidance continue to inform our efforts. Slide. It may not, while I was at Howard University, before I joined the WRLC, I found out that it was actually one of Howard University's own chemistry instructors who was one of the co-architects of LibreText. I felt like I'd uncovered a treasure, and I was able to contact him, and he was able to graciously inform our programming's efforts as well. But it was just really astounding to me that one of Howard's own had built, contributed to a really profound research in the OER verse, and yet there were no OER programs on Howard University's campus. So I say this to really illustrate how without community building, OER programming really has a very difficult chance of growing. At the WRLC partnering library, our partnering libraries are not bound by a single municipality, such as a state-driven consortium. So issues of uneven institutional support and participation were a concern. During the program, TOG representatives may leave their institution for other opportunities. And onboarding new TOG representatives is an involved process that often involves a comprehensive introduction to OER while continuing to assist the institution's faculty with all programming obligations. Additionally, the program has been unable to address concerns of how to handle candidate applications for those institutions that have not provided TOG representation and awardees who become unresponsive or ignore project deadlines. Another challenge, streamlining fund disbursement. We've had to really learn how to manage that as well. Streamlining fund disbursement also continues to be a concern at some of the institutions. Unlike some consortia, we do not have the advantage of a statewide check disbursement system, and we had to create a homegrown workflow that worked to varying success depending on the awardee's institutions. Faculty assistance was significant and required constant communication necessary at every stage of the program. To help alleviate this labor, in our second year, we used Basecamp, a project management site, to assist with communication and store program information and resources. OER instruction is crucial to ensuring a successful program implementation. In the first pilot year, in an effort to lower the time commitment threshold, we provided asynchronous instruction program course material for OER discovery, digital accessibility, open pedagogy, and CC licensing. However, this did not prove to be successful. So for the second pilot year, we provided mandatory synchronous digital accessibility and CC licensing instruction and created breakout rooms so that instructors could meet with their TOG representatives and ask questions and get further clarification. Slide. So as we discussed, when I was at Howard, I discovered one of their own had been a co-architect of LibreText. And one of the reasons in the first year we leaned heavily toward asynchronous instruction and assistance was in an effort to move away from the Zoom link conference headache and hangover that folks had after the pandemic. We wanted to lower the threshold and make the program as accessible as possible. However, in doing so, we neglected community building. We neglected community building and knowledge sharing opportunities amongst our cohorts, and realizing that we are not only educating faculty members, but also creating a new population of OER campus allies, we would definitely make adjustments in the future. Initially, it was out of necessity that TOG representatives sought collaboration and assistance from fellow campus departments, such as instructional design and digital accessibility offices. However, going forward, it really should be our norm. We should be looking for opportunities, investing areas for collaboration at the top of each new year with potential campus allies. This can only better inform community building and OER awareness. To this end, TOG is also hoping to activate student participation in the future. OER advocacy, in our experience, has been a bottom to top effort, and investing in increasing student awareness and capturing the power in campus community, we have learned, is absolutely critical for future success. I'd now like to introduce Melissa Foge. My apologies. Joe will be speaking next about the system we built to help us manage administrative tasks.
All right, speaking of apologies, they should say you should never lead with an apology, but I'm going to. I've been getting over the flu this week, so if there's any dramatic pauses for me to cough, then I apologize. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the logistics of how we managed collecting all of our applications and the entire process all the way through the awarding of money. So prior to the grant program, we had created a promotional website for OER at our consortium. It was primarily used for sharing upcoming events and informing readers about our membership in the Open Textbook Library. The website was built on Drupal, which is a popular content management system, and it was definitely overkill for our needs at the time. Next slide. So when we began this grant program, we mentioned earlier that there was the idea of hiring a dedicated staff member to manage the entire process. When this ended up not happening, it immediately became clear that we needed to have a central hub to manage all of the moving parts and communications if this was going to be successful. It turns out spreadsheets and emails is not going to cut it for something this size. So we began by organizing and adding documentation to our existing website to introduce the potential participants to the program. This included a timeline and the requirements that needed to be met ahead of time, so there'd be no surprises when it came to the application process. Next slide. And yes, I did say submit everything, and so the way that we were going to handle this was luckily Drupal to the rescue. We were able to create accounts on the website for the potential candidates, and when they logged in, they were able to see up in the upper left-hand corner the grant application form, and then they would begin the process from there. So next slide. The form was pretty long and involved. It was a 10-step process. So having documentation and instructions available on our website was crucial to guiding everyone smoothly through collecting all their materials beforehand. And also, as you can see, proofreading is a must on the website. So something that we call it, and I kind of left it there because I thought it was funny, to tell you the truth. All right, next slide. And once the application form has been completed, the applicant will see on their landing page when they log in that their application status is listed. It lists if it's under review, if it's been accepted, and then they're able to view their overall proposal and then also go in and edit if they need to. So next slide. And on the admin side of things, when the form is submitted, the OER team would receive an email notification. And then we would have an admin view of all the submissions that allows us to track and update the progress. Next slide. To evaluate each of these submissions, we created a grading rubric that would allow us to assess which applications would best fit for our grant program. Next slide. Clicking on the Begin Rubric button would take us into a quick form of criteria that would measure each submission. Next slide. When the form is submitted, the website would tally these numbers for us automatically and assign a score for each reviewer. Next slide. And each submission is graded twice so that we can get a variation of opinions. And those numbers are then totaled to give each submission a total score. Next submission, or next slide. And in addition to the score, reviewers leave constructive feedback on is to be reviewed as part of this selection process. Next slide. And then after the rubric selection process, the participants are notified of their acceptance. And once they're accepted, they will then see a progress report button on the login landing page that they had previously. Next slide. And being selected was only the beginning of the grant process. There are also regularly scheduled meetings with your university representative. There's a large collection of webinars to be completed, and then documentation and materials that are collected and used for teaching throughout the semester. Next slide. Those progress reports are all tracked on the website, highlighting milestones and the dates of meetings just at a glance. And when a progress report is submitted, the group receives an email notification, as mentioned before. So, as a result, with a bit of creativity, we were able to work around the loss of having a dedicated staff member available to manage the workflow. And as a result, the website was able to handle most of the heavy lifting for us and was able to organize all of the logistics from beginning to finish. And next.
All right, thank you, Joel. So the year one savings were 4 times the program costs, and the year two savings were almost 5 times the program costs. In total, with all 29 projects, the total textbook savings for students was over $400,000, which will only continue to grow as the syllabi are used in the future. The courses that were transformed included introductory courses as well as specialized upper level and graduate level courses, including 2 classes at Howard University School of Law. The subject areas cover the broad range of topics, with the most common being in business, education, and engineering. All of our grantees that have adopted OER plan to continue using it in the future semesters. Many have also encouraged their colleagues to look into OER for their courses, and 2 universities will be implementing the selected OER for all sections of the course. While this program was focused on adopting already existing OER, some subjects are a better match for those existing OER texts than others. Many grantees created some materials to use in addition to the OER they had found, but a couple projects ended up creating their own websites and textbooks. Dr. Roger Spitterman and Dr. Smith at Marymount University built a comprehensive website to support their instruction of maternal infant nursing that is more like a textbook for their course. Another resource built as a result of this program was the textbook A Compact Compendium in Numerical Analysis by Dr. DeLeo at Howard University, which integrates Python code that can be copied and adapted straight from the textbook alongside more traditional content matter. Technology was also adopted alongside open textbooks. Dr. Jabin at George Washington University created a course-specific chatbot for her screening Shakespeare course, and Dr. Degnan at the Catholic University of America was able to secure permission to add open access statistical programs on campus computers for students to use, rather than purchasing the previous program that was used. Every faculty member in the program noted the costs of providing accessible materials as a contributing factor in their interest in using OER, and several were already reevaluating their courses or programs and found that OER fit the content that they were looking for, with the added benefit of being free and having a community surrounding the materials. At the end of the program, faculty noted that they appreciated the quality of the OER materials, that they had a greater understanding of the value of OER, and that they enjoyed being able to customize the text with diverse and multimedia content to fit their course needs. Many professors reported positive student experiences associated with implementation of OER, many including easier access to course materials, increased engagement in class, and similar or even better scores on assignments and in class. While most of the classes have been implemented, there are a couple that are being taught currently, and we are going to be working with all of our awardees to upload their syllabi and any materials they created, including ancillary materials and website links to OER Commons to grow with the larger OER community. While this pilot program has been very successful, we were unfortunately unable to secure additional funding to continue the program at this time, but we are looking into grants and other funding options to hopefully continue the program in the future. And while we're doing all of that looking into funding, we are continuing our work of outreach to inform our campus communities about the benefits of OER and how they can get started using them via marketing and our workshop series that highlights different aspects of working with OER. And that concludes our presentation. Our contact information is listed on the slide, and please let us know if you have any questions for us.
Thank you very much, Angelique, Brianna, Melissa, and Joel. That was a wonderful presentation. We do have a question in the chat from Jeff Gallant. If anybody else has any questions, please enter them into the chat, and I will read Jeff's. Probably a common question. How did the course-specific AI chatbot get created? And do they train and host their own model on a server?
So
That's an excellent. Oh, I'm sorry.
go for it.
You may have more information than I. This is Dr. Jobin from one of our partnering institutions at George Washington University. If you would use the contact information that's provided, I'd be happy to put you in contact with her because I actually don't have any details on that. It was the first that was provided, so we were all, I think, just like impressed that it was even managed because this was really adopt only level. Our instructors surprised us. So I would love to get, she's Dr. Jobin has become a huge campus ally in her time with the program, and I know she would love to share information with you. So if anyone's interested, please contact me and I will pass it on to Dr. Jobin. But I don't know if maybe someone else has more information.
I put the chat of the Screening Shakespeare in the link into the chat. I believe it was built using ChatGPT, so like using the specific instances that you can use and fed that website into it, but she would definitely have the best information of the steps she took.
Yeah, that was very intriguing to hear about. I also really appreciated hearing that I think it may have been the same professor got open software on all the computers to help with this project, right? Is it that same professor?
It was a different instructor. This was for a statistical methods in psychology. So she found an open source software that worked better for working with statistical methods and was able to adopt that and work with those.
That's great. Do you by any chance know which software it was? Because I'm interested.
I do not have it on hand, but if you send me an email, I can definitely get that for you.
Alrighty, thank you. Um, I found the Drupal site that you were using to help manage this whole process to be very interesting. It sounds like it in the beginning, um, Joel, you said that it was a bit more than what you needed. Did you end up using more and more parts of it as time went on?
Yes, at WRLC, we're definitely a Drupal shop. We have probably a dozen websites that are all running on Drupal. And at the time, we just pretty much just needed a landing page to post a little bit of information, but we went ahead and spun up a version of Drupal for it anyway. And then as time went on and opportunities came up, we were able to use the platform for managing all of this information as opposed to having to create something else on its own. So it was a blessing in disguise that we put in a little bit of extra work at the beginning, which really paid off long term.
Yeah, it was nice to see that you eventually ended up being able to let the various applicants have their own account and then and walk them through the submission process. That seems like it would have been very useful. Okay. I don't think we have any other questions in the chat. So thank you so much, Brianna, Melissa, Angelique, and Joel. Thank you. Wonderful presentation.